From record-breaking wildfires to devastating storms, the climate and climate change made a lot of headlines in 2020. So with the start of a new year, we're taking a look at what climate action needs to happen in 2021. Joining us this morning is Allie Rougeot, climate activist and coordinator for Fridays for Future Toronto. Thank you so much for being here, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Ben.
So for most of 2020, the world was focused on the pandemic, but the pandemic has not gone away. So how can we bring the focus to the climate crisis?
That's the million-dollar question we're trying to figure out as youth fighting for climate justice. But one thing to note is during the pandemic, we got to see what happens when it's unstable around us. And I hated it, and I think we all hated it. So a good way is to draw the parallels and show that the climate crisis is going to be in many ways like this pandemic. So this is kind of our first step. And then the second one, which we have to do as a country, is make sure our recovery from the pandemic thinks of the climate crisis constantly and doesn't think, I'll first deal with the pandemic, then we'll talk about climate. If we take that approach, we're probably going to lose big on the climate crisis.
The UN Secretary General has urged every country to declare a climate emergency. Canada's current target is to reduce emissions to 30% below 2005 levels by 2030 and to ban most single-use plastics by the end of this year. Is this possible, and is this enough?
On the possible, they certainly seem to think so. The images that we're seeing on screen don't make me that hopeful. And we don't actually think they're enough, these targets. And I'm going to tell you why from a very, candid, real perspective. We have a network of young people striking for climate in the global south as well. And when I talk to them and they see our targets, they can tell us, this is making sure communities are going to be drowning or hit by droughts or by floods. So, in a very concrete way, we're being told by our peers, other youth in other countries, that they're not enough. So we have to ask better for our governments just by solidarity.
Allie, let's play a hypothetical game right now where you have the ear of governments around the world. They are listening to you. What do you tell them about the change that we need right now?
I really like that game. Thanks. What we need is, first of all, at least for Canada, North America, a real energy transition, something that we actually need. And generally a transition that takes into account, the people that are going to be affected by the climate crisis. It's not about reducing gases in the air. I mean, no one really understands that. It's really, how do we make sure the communities are involved the whole way, are protected? If I could ask for a few things, it would be thinking back about biodiversity, all these places, all the trees, all the forests, all the lakes that will absorb the carbon. Think about the energy transition, and then thinking about, for the parts of climate change that we can't avoid, how do we adapt ahead of time? Because if COVID taught us one thing, is that for now we're not adapted to shocks to our system.
Well, the pandemic forced climate strikes to move online last year. What do you have planned for 2021?
Well, depending on the situation, we'll probably keep a lot of them online just because we don't want to be people spreading the virus in our communities. However, it's been really efficient to actually recruit people online. So we have a lot more youth joining, and it's been good to be able to speak to groups in classrooms or through webinars. So we're going to continue doing that. And then I'll admit we're also thinking, if we're able to ever go back to in person during this 2021 year, how do we make sure it's as powerful as it was before? And right now we're working on having hubs of young people that care in every school, every university campus across the country. So big ambitions, but it's doable, and we've done it before, so we can do it again.
Allie, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.